Namaste, Jai Hind and welcome to this edition of The Right Stand. I'm Anand Narsimhan. On the 3rd of November 2024, violent disruptions occurred at Hindu temples in both Brampton, Ontario and Surrey, British Columbia, as Khalistani extremists or K extremists staged coordinated protests attacking Hindu devotees and provoking altercations. Offensive slogans against Bharat, biased responses by the Canada Police, attacking peaceful Hindu protesters and letting the K-goons have a free run have once again outed Justin Trudeau's sympathy for K-goons. The Hindu Sabha temple in Brampton was hosting a consular camp organized by the High Commission of India to provide documentation services for local Indian origin residents on the 3rd of November, that is Sunday. Approximately 30 to 35 K extremists gathered outside the temple carrying offensive images showing Indian diplomats depicted in violent ways and posters with derogatory slogans targeting India and Hindus. They began shouting slogans in favor of Khalistan, with some calling for violence against Indians and Indian origin diplomats. At 12:15 p.m. Canada time, the protesters verbally abused temple attendees, including women and children. After a brief altercation due to their aggressive stance, they proceeded to physically attack devotees with Khalistani flags and sticks, injuring several people. At 12:30 p.m. Canada time, videos of the attack began circulating on social media, drawing attention and concern from the broader community. At 1 p.m. local time in Canada, in response, about 150 local Hindus spontaneously gathered outside the temple to protect their place of worship. By 3:30 p.m., the crowd of Hindu devotees had grown to around 200 people. The K extremists began to disperse, taking down their offensive signs. Around the same time, the Lakshmi Narayan Mandir in Surrey was targeted by these K extremists. A planned protest by K supporters was advertised in advance, targeting the temple with hateful and offensive messaging. Around 12 noon, around 12 K extremists arrived with large posters bearing anti-Bharat, anti-Modi and Hindu-phobic messages, along with imagery amplifying K terrorist Jarnail Singh Bhindranwale. The cops arrived, stating they were there to ensure a peaceful protest. The K protesters then used loudspeakers to broadcast derogatory slogans, prompting the Hindu attendees to respond by chanting Jai Shri Ram over their own speakers. This is the entire timeline that we're putting out. What actually happened? Police randomly arrested 3 Hindu protesters in Surrey who were reportedly peaceful and non-violent. Among those detained was a teenager who was forcefully slammed to the ground by 3 officers. Another arrest involved a young man standing on the temple property. Despite not engaging in any aggression, he was singled out by a police officer identified by badge number 363 who threatened others with arrest. Look at the amount of force that's being used by the cops on those who are not even involved in any kind of violence or protest. These were the people whose place of worship was being attacked, assaulted and being derided by the K extremists, and not one of them has been arrested. A Canadian cop was suspended after he was seen participating with pro-Khalistani groups that launched an attack on Hindus at the Hindu Sabha temple in Brampton. The suspended cop, identified as Harinder Sohi, was caught on camera holding a K flag or a Khalistan flag as others in the protest chanted anti-India slogans. He served as a sergeant of the Peel Regional Police. Peel Regional Police confirmed they were aware of an online video that depicted an off-duty officer actively participating in the demonstration.
I think what happened yesterday at the Hindu temple in Canada was obviously deeply concerning. You would have seen the statement first by our official spokesperson and also the expression of concern by our Prime Minister yesterday. That should, I think, convey to you how deeply we feel about it.
Mr. Speaker, we strongly condemn acts of violence, hate that took place outside Hindu Sabha Mandir and Guru Singh Sabha Gurdwara. These acts need to stop. Everyone deserves to feel safe in their places of worship. I've spoken to Peel Regional Police Chief Nish and have full confidence in our local authorities to investigate and to de-escalate. As Canadians, Mr. Speaker, we must stand united against hate and against all those who try to destabilize peace and unity between our communities. Thank you.
Now, Indo-Canadians united to send a strong message to Justin Trudeau. Thousands of Indo-Canadians marched in solidarity outside the Hindu Sabha temple in Brampton a day after it was attacked by these pro-K extremists. Now, the march on Monday night was organized by the Coalition of Hindus in North America. The participants carried the flags of Canada and Bharat. As well as those chanting Bharat Mata Ki Jai slogans, they also sang the Canadian national anthem in solidarity with everyone and with the Canadian flag, saying that this is their country of residence, but they deserve to be left in peace and to be allowed that their places of worship are not places of assault and intimidation and violence. People shouted anti-Khalistan slogans and urged Justin Trudeau to change his ways and mend his ways. Prime Minister Narendra Modi condemned the attacks on Monday, asking the Canadian government to ensure justice and uphold the rule of law. This was his first statement against the ongoing violence by these pro-K supporters on Canadian soil. Daniel Boardman, Canadian journalist, joins us. Dr. Anand Ranganathan, author and political commentator and scientist, joins us. Ramneek Singh Mann, activist, with us. Manish Puri, spokesperson of VHP Canada, with us. Mehak Kapoor, Indian journalist in Canada, who is part of this protest, is also with us. Mehak, namaste, and namaste to all the other gentlemen. Thank you very much. I'm going to first start with Mehak. Can you please tell us what happened? Were you part of this counter-protest on Monday night? Can you take us through what happened and what did you witness?
Good morning, Anand. Good evening. Thank you so much for having me here. Yes, I was very much part of the protests that occurred in Brampton. I mean, in the recent incident, what we've seen, Khalistani extremists have been observed, wielding weapons and intimidating peaceful protest. The time when we were there in Brampton, we did witness them spraying pepper spray at a few men peacefully protesting outside the temple on Monday. We did see a few hooligans trying to, come in the protest and start with their slurs again and again. The peace has been the peace has been questioned over here, Anand. The perceived lack of action has led a coalition of North America, as we all know, all the Hindus joining to call upon the Canadian government. We have to pressurize them to feel safe out here, Anand.
But is it true that there was another attempt after this pro-protest last evening by these K extremists to further surround the Hindu Sabha Mandir yet again? Because there is a video that's doing the rounds with a huge presence of police cars. The Peel police seems to be far more active on Monday night compared to Sunday.
Yes, very much true. I genuinely feel the Peel regional police is supporting the Khalistani gang. The inaction from authorities has left a once trusting community, questioning its safety and belonging in Canada. They have attacked once again, paper spray, they've been carrying swords, the weapons, trying to intimidate us. Rather, we were just holding our Indian flags on Monday night. The police has been more active on Monday. Rather, they should be active on Sunday when they were very much aware that they are doing peaceful protest. But they were trying to, and they are still trying to protect the K gang, as we've been calling them.
But please tell me, there are reports that Gurdwara was also surrounded by the Hindu protesters. Was there violence there? Did you try and break into the Gurdwara? What had happened there in Malton, at the Malton Gurdwara?
So the Malton Gurdwara, I was not there, Anand, but my friends, and there are videos circulating on social media. They have been seen carrying swords, lathis, and a brick, trying to haunt us, trying to intimidate us with those weapons, where they were seen carrying those swords and stuff like that. They're just trying to intimidate. Rather, that's what I just mentioned before as well, Anand. We were just seen carrying Indian flags. But in Malton area, that's one of the areas really much intimidated by the Khalistani gang. And we have seen that in the videos as well, that they're trying to start the hooligan, they're trying to become what they shouldn't be doing that, where we all expect safety out here.
So you're trying to resort to hooliganism. Daniel Boardman is there. He was right in the thick of all the action. You've been posting a lot of videos. Take us through what you saw there and what was the reaction of the locals. Because there are also efforts to push a very different story altogether of what has happened. And somewhere the K extremists are being painted as the victims here and the Hindu Sabha members as the ones who are trying to flex muscle. Is that true, Daniel?
Well, I mean, the narrative trying to put out, that's not true, Hunter, in totality. So what happened last night is there was a massive rally on the temple grounds to, support the community, to put pressure on the police and politicians who failed them. The general consensus of the Hindu community is no one has our back. The politicians have failed us. The police have failed us. Religious freedom is under attack. And we want to protect our rights as Canadians. So there was a very peaceful protest, or you could say a rally on Temple Hill, and then people went inside the temple for further meetings inside. I was there for some of that, and then outside the temple, sort of that's where things got a bit rowdy, where there was a crowd outside, and then I wasn't there. I was more inside, but from what I heard outside is, as they went outside, more and more police presence came in, and because the community doesn't have a good relationship with the police right now, things got a bit testy, and then there were constantly, if people would hear rumors of a Khalistani attack, and people would run out of the temple and go to the thing. Now, that wasn't really true, but that kind of added to the crowd outside as people would hear rumors of potential Khalistani attacks outside. And then, there are the videos being shown of the Khalistanis in their own Gurdwara with swords ready. And it got everyone pretty hyped up. And then there was sort of a crowd of, you could say, youth who a couple hours after the rally had left the premises of the temple and sort of doing their own thing, roaming around the city. And again, I wasn't there for that, so I don't quite know. But to the point of the narrative, it is very clear that the narrative trying to be spun by the Canadian establishment and those of pro-Khalistani sympathies is they want to do Sikhs versus Hindus. Whereas it's Khalistanis versus reasonable people. But by trying to play up, we think, well, it looks to me, but by trying to play up the potential attack, was a Gurdwara surrounded, was this and that, what they want to do is they want to say, oh, Hindu temples were attacked, Sikh temples were attacked. The wave of violence and the clashes, because when it's two sides, they can just say, oh, it's clashes and tension and all violence is wrong, right? That gives them the ability to not name the problem, which is Khalistani extremism, which is, hey, is there a photo of Tawinder Parmar inside that Gurdwara where he's popped up as a great shaheed? Is that not a question we should be asking about this? But for most parts, it was peaceful, but there has been a breakdown in trust completely with the cops in the Hindu community. I mean, it's absurd that the temple was attacked physically. They went into the grounds, and there's been no attempt by any level of politician or police to sort of outreach to the community, outreach to the temple, try and build relations like there would be with any other situation. The shafting of the temple after this egregious attack has been noted. And it is not increasing relations well.
Let me ask you before I bring in Manish and Ramneek and Anand Ranganathan here. Daniel, you question the attitude of the cops. Do you believe, personally as an individual, that the cops have been partisan? And why do you believe so? The other aspect, there are so many of these goons who are still there in these videos on the screen that's running. They're all there. Their faces are clear that they're walking into the temple premises, picking up and, hurling punches, using their sticks and beating up people. Has any of them been arrested so far?
No Khalistanis have been arrested to my knowledge there. And, and if you want to say, are the police force infiltrated with radical ideologues from different communities? Probably, most likely. I've seen them recruit for RCMP and police officers in the most radical Muslim Brotherhood affiliated mosques in Toronto. So I don't see why the same people who would recruit from the Muslim Brotherhood wouldn't also recruit from the Khalistanis. I mean, remember, Canadian institutions have no idea what's going on in anything. They don't understand the difference between Khalistan and Sikhs. They don't understand the difference between a Muslim Brotherhood operative and a normal Muslim man. They don't understand any of this. They're not willing to understand of it. Mostly they're too scared. And a lot of cops do know the problems and are very aware of it and want this to stop, but top down it's been corrupted. The political levels. So lieutenants, chiefs, the Peel Region Police Board, all of that's been politically corrupted.
Manish Puri, so far, have the authorities reached out to the Hindu groups, the coalition, after the protest, after the demands, seeking an apology, seeking arrests? Has anything happened? I'm going to try. think we've just temporarily lost Manish Puri there. We'll try and go back to him. Ramnik Man, I'm sure you're in touch with a lot of people there, present there. There are sangatans or groups that have come out and condemned all of this. They've called out the Khalistani extremism, including a lot of Sikh groups, and a lot of the other gurdwaras have said that what's happening is wrong. But what beyond that?
A few quick points.
Ji.
The first thing first is old Hindi saying, "Saiya bhai kotwal to fir dar kahega." When the Prime Minister of the country is giving you patronage and is giving you a free run and giving you a loose rope. This all started with initially, they were trying to test waters when they vandalized temples, discredited the walls. And then, we could have seen these Khalistani elements trying to get into mandirs before at night. Not in broad daylight like they've done this time. But also, it is very alarming for a lot of Canadians to see this kind of a situation arising in Canada. 2-3 very, again, relevant points here. These terrorist elements, these sympathizers of terrorists or people who give cover or intellectual cover fire or political cover fire to these Khalistani or these terrorist elements have penetrated the landscape of the Canadian judicial system, the Canadian police, the Canadian polity, the business scope. They are not over. And that is why, being less in number, they still have a say. Can you imagine Harjinder Soi is a cop?
Yeah.
And he's involved in protests, and as a result of which you see that a teenager is being pinned down. It reminded me of the event in the US when the whole Black Lives Matter thing ran. But what gives me encouragement also is that eventually I see the Hindu community in Canada waking up and rising up, and the slogan which had come "Batoge to Katoge" is actually very relevant and very practical all over the world, not just in India, but also in Canada, and more so in Canada, as a matter of fact. And you have to remain united, and this is something which I have been asserting, Anand, is to divide Hindus and Sikhs amongst themselves. This is an attempt to create a wedge between two brothers, the elder and the younger one, and it should not succeed at any cost. This is how I look at it. Now, it also amounts to this, Anand, give me a few more seconds.
Ji.
If they are able to extract a retaliation against minority Sikhs in India, they will again get a victim card or a scope of victimhood again for themselves. This is something which is unacceptable to any Indian, any Sikh.
Yeah.
These people should not be addressed to as Sikhs, because these are not the Sikhs of Guru Nanak, these are not the Sikhs of Guru Gobind Sahib, who had been a Pagoti, that is Ma Bhagwati Pagt. And the last time we got together was on Deepavali. And if you remember, Anand pulled out the Khalsa Raj flag.
Yeah.
So, I mean, in any which case, this is absolutely unacceptable. The only bright side of the entire incident which has happened or unfolded yesterday, or it's been happening for years now, is that Hindus and Indians and Sikhs in Canada in particular have got united. They've come together to fight against these terrorists in Canada. That's the only bright side I see today.
But Dr. Manish Puri is also with us. Manish Puri, have the authorities reacted? We lost you when I asked you. Have the authorities reached out to the coalition of Hindus post the protest last night? Have they given any assurance of action against these K extremists? Or any arrests?
Well, Anand, I have not heard about any arrests so far. There had been a meeting last night at the Gurdwara with a few police officials. We are still awaiting what came out of it. But as was mentioned earlier, I think by Daniel and also Mehak, that there has not been an overtly, an overt outreach by any of the administration on law enforcement officials to say, we are pained, this is not going to happen again. We are going to make sure the steps are going to be in place that, Hindu community feels they are safe in Canada. So that kind of an outreach is missing. What we are seeing so far are very, very subtle messages, like for the sake of putting a message out there. So the Hindu community is seeing that, and they are annoyed, they are angry, they are worried about their kids, their family, the entire community. And the good part is that they are at least starting to come, as Ramneek said, they are coming together along with the Sikh brothers and saying enough of this, and we got to put an end to this. Because the silent majority, if they keep silent, this is going to get even worse. And I think Dr. Ranganathan has been saying, this is relevant for all Hindus across the globe. We got to get more politically assertive. We got to actually join right from the local level to the provincial level to the federal level. The Khalistanis have actually perfected a model. They have infiltrated across the board in all institutions, in media, in possibly law enforcement, in administration. So everybody is keeping mum on these activities. And we got to start getting organized. We don't have to think about individual organization or an individual. We got to get united and have one voice.
One voice is important, but along with that, a certain level of influence and currency within the administration and a political advisory as a grouping. I think this is something which has been noted even in the US, where a lot of the senators, a lot of the council members, a lot of the representatives take the Indian community, local Hindu community, Indo-American community also lightly, because they go there, have a cup of tea, click a few selfies, and they get huge amounts of donation, but there are no demands made. Compared to some of the other lobbies which are far more stronger and far more exacting, and say that if you want something from us, you got to give us something in return. And that kind of lobbying, which is actually legal in America and Canada, should be far more active, because the size, the numbers have to come through. And Dr. Ranganathan, are you happy to see at least there is a certain level of cohesion among groups to say that we got to protect our rights? But more importantly, is this falling on deaf ears? Is that a concern for you?
3 points here. First of all, good evening, Anand, to you and to my fellow panelists. A lot of probably wonderful and excellent points raised here. I just want to add to this discussion with 3 very brief points. Number 1, with your permission, I'd like to start with asking you a multiple choice question. Anand, a Hindu temple is attacked by a rampaging mob carrying swords and sticks. Hindu devotees are manhandled. The police comes in, but the police is completely in cahoots. The police encourages the rampaging mob. In fact, some part of the rampaging mob are actually part of the police off duty. The politicians cushion this crime. The country this is happening is in A, Canada, B, Pakistan, C, Bangladesh, D, all of the above. Could you please answer that, Anand? You know the answer. It is D, all of the above.
I'm inclined to say D, all of the above. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Now, Canada is the new Pakistan. Let's be as blunt about it. That's the fact. The question now arises is, having answered the multiple choice question, what do Hindus do next? Do we look at the situation of Hindus in Pakistan and Bangladesh and extrapolate to that what is happening in Canada? Or do we actually believe that Canada is different from Pakistan and Bangladesh? I still tend to believe that Canada is much more law-abiding and respecting of the general law than Pakistan and Bangladesh, because those are not religious agnostic countries, and you know the antagonism that Hindus have faced traditionally in those areas. So yes, there is still some hope. But as Manish ji said, as Ramneek ji reiterated, that hope is fading fast. Because, and to talk about a little bit about what Daniel also mentioned, every strata of the Canadian society has been very carefully infiltrated by the Khalistani elements. In fact, I would disagree a little with Manish ji and say that Khalistanis have perfected a model. No, they are replicating the Islamist model. Exactly this the Islamists have done in London or in other areas. The Khalistanis are replicating this model, infiltrating in the media, in the police, so that when you cry for help to these pillars of democracy, including the legislature, including the executive, I don't know about the judiciary as yet, but who knows? The fact of the matter is there is very little Hindus can do. That is the reason why I started with asking that multiple choice questions. Is Canada going the Pakistan and Bangladesh way as far as Hindus are concerned? The answer is yes. But here, little bit of hope I want to give, because Ramneek, and by the way, you should be anointed as the honorary Sikh. I'll tell you why, Anand. Because of you took the mainstreaming of the fact that Hindus and Sikhs have always been one, they will always be one. And when you showed this flag, which I in fact showed yesterday on Rahul's debate as well, this is the territory of Maharana Ranjit Singh. You can see it almost covers half of Pakistan.
Right.
And this is the proposed map of Khalistan. There is not an inch of Pakistan. That itself tells you the nefarious designs of these Khalistanis who propped up. And of course, as Ramneek mentioned, when you show the flag of Maharaja Ranjit Singh, you see Ma Durga in the middle, flanked by Hanuman and Bhairav. So we have always been one. These Khalistanis are not Sikhs. They are anything but Sikhs. So I stand with Ramneek there. These are the 2 points I wanted to make.
Well,
is India safe from them? I would like to believe we are.
Well, here is a commitment that we have made to ourselves here on the right stand, that we will always continue to, whenever we have a discussion on these K extremists, we will end the conversation with a reminder of the Sanatan Sikh Connect. And that's what we're going to put out as we end this discussion. Here on the right stand, ladies and gentlemen, we threw light on how K agenda stood for anything but the true tenets of Sikhism. The Khalistan map leaves all of Pakistan, which existed during the Sikh Empire in 1839 under Maharaja Ranjit Singh, and includes everything which was outside the Sikh Empire. The sovereign territories of Bharat are the target, not just Punjab. The secessionists want parts of Himachal, Uttar Pradesh, Uttarakhand and Haryana, while they leave out all of Punjab, in Pakistan, certain parts of Afghanistan, Gilgit-Baltistan and also Chinese-occupied territory, erstwhile, and also Tibet. Those are the areas which should have been part of their map. That's not reflecting there. Secondly, as Dr. Ranganathan said, a flag of Maharaja Ranjit Singh's army depicts the war-inspiring goddess Chandi right in the middle. There she is, Durga. And this is what Sikhi was, the sword arm of Sanatan. Along with, on the right and left, is Hanuman and Bhairav. The Sikh warriors use symbols of Hinduism before warfare, and here the K-Bogi spews venom against Sanatan Astha in Canada. And thirdly, the Brahm Kavach. This is what Ramneek Maan had mentioned the other day. The Dasam Granth of Guru Gobind Singh says, you are the goddess of creation, you are Lakshmi and Vishnu, Vishnu's power, you are of Shiva himself, the Shakti of Shakta. This mantra invoking gods Sanatan Pratha were supposed to be read 32 times daily as per the Dasam Granth for fearlessness, protection, fortune, wealth and good health. Need we say more, ladies and gentlemen, how convoluted and far from reality is this entire K-Bogi and K narrative, and how connected Sanatan and Sikhi are. And on that note, we're going to take a very, very short break. When we come back, ladies and gentlemen, a fierce counter to Mizoram Chief Minister's anti-Bharat pitch. And this is coming in once again from voices within the northeast of Bharat. Stay with us.